Hey Doug, it's Dave. I thought I'd just do a quick video for you because it's a little bit of a mess, and I wanted to show it to you. In fact, this is the second video I'm recording because I myself screwed up the first time because that's how unbelievably clunky it is. So anyways, what you see here is the race day screen. I've got 20 drivers over on the left-hand side and nobody in the race right now. I'm just going to throw, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run your finals race directly. It's quicker and easier, and it'll actually make for an easier explanation at the other end because the driver number will match their seed. And that's going to be a little more complicated for you because a name is going to be the seed. You know, the guy in the finals race, your number one seed, won't be the guy, the number one driver you add over here, and it'll just be a name. It'll be, you know, whoever won the qualifying race. So you'll see how this is going to work in a minute, but you're going to have to remember, basically, is what it's going to come down to as you're doing some work here. So all I'm going to do, you know, normally you would select the Cork race here, the Cork event. I'm going to run the Cork final directly here, and I'm just going to say race, and that's going to bring us to the race screen. I'm just going to pause the race real quick. Don't want it to start on me. So real quick, what I want to show you just to verify is that I'm going to go to the heat view. So you can see it's the step-up race. Here's driver 19 and 20 with 2 empty lanes. With 20 drivers, you get 2 empty lanes in your format for the first heat. And then 16, 17, 18 with a step here in the yellow lane. Now my lanes are, lane 1 is red, 2 is white, 3 is blue, and 4 is yellow. Yours are a little different, I think. But the important thing here to know is that the highest seed is always in lane 1, the second highest is in lane 2, third highest here is in lane 3, and then since you step one driver up, the step up is always in lane 4 by default. That's how it will set things up, and I'm sure that's what it's doing for you. So, at very least, before you start this finals, you have to go to the modify heat screen, which is this horrifyingly bad screen, because your first heat structure hasn't allowed your 2 drivers that are in it, in this case, to select their lane. So let's say driver 19 is the number one, is the higher of the 2 seeds because he's in lane 1. So he's technically the 19th seed in this race, but for this heat, he's the highest seed in the heat. So what you can do is you ask driver 19, what lane does he want? Let's say he wants the yellow lane. Simple to do. You go over to the left-hand side, and what I would do if I were you is be very methodical with this and, you know, say, hey, driver 19, it's your turn to pick your lane. Select driver 19 on the left side. Now, driver 19 says, I would like yellow, so you select the yellow lane. And now here's partly where it gets really messy. Watch this little sliver over here to the left. Right now, that's all that you can see that indicates, and I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little blue bar there that indicates that it's selected. If you go up to I think the red one's more visible, you can kind of see it there. If you watch closely, when I select, you can see it changing. Now it's right there. It's literally like, I don't know, not even a quarter of an inch wide. That indicates what lane you have selected. I'm going to try to fix this actually in a new release because this is ridiculous. I need to shorten the widths here and make it so that there's a little bit more selection showing. But anyways, so you've got driver 19 over here selected. Sorry about the motion sickness here. Driver 19 has said he wants to be in the yellow lane because he likes the outside or whatever that lane is. So you select that, and you can barely see it, but it's definitely selected, and then you simply say add. That pulls driver 19 out of the lane 1 because he can't be in 2 lanes at the same time, and it puts him in 19, or I'm sorry, in lane 4. Now you do the same thing with driver 2, the second seed in this race, the second highest seed in this heat, and you say, okay, hey driver 20, it's your turn, what lane do you want? Well, maybe he wants the red lane, so you select that, and again, I don't know if you could see it there, it was easier to see, it's almost easier to see when it changes, but I'm about to select it, boom, there's that little blue part there, now you say add. Click this add button up at the top. Now the key here is you're only going to be working with these 3 buttons at the top for the way you're doing things. These things add and remove drivers from the heat. So they will push a driver over to the right from here onto the lane you selected, or they will pull a driver back out of the race and leave it empty from here. Or you can create a step-up location if you need it, and you will in the next heat, and I'll show you that in a second. And you can push a step-up location into the heats with this button. If you hit any of these buttons, it will redo all of your formats. So don't do them. Don't use them at all because you'll be sad. Okay, so heat 1 is now set up. The top seed in heat 1, driver 19, said he wants yellow. The second highest seed in heat 1 said he wants red. These 2 lanes are empty because there's only 2 drivers in this heat, so they're ready to go. Now, at this point, you could actually, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to so this is choice 1 of 2 how you can do this. If you hit accept now, Oops, you're going to break into my code because I am debugging at the moment. Get out of that for you. Okay, now you'll see when the race comes back, voila, driver 19, your top seed is now in the bottom lane, lane 4, and your second highest seed, lane, driver 20, is now in the red lane. You could run this heat. This heat is now set up and it's ready to go the way the drivers asked for it. But we're not done yet, so the other way to do things, and when you hit accept, that basically saves the heat configuration. So one thing to do might be to hit it, to do a heat, get it the way you want it, and hit accept. Even if you're going to do them all at once, which is actually what I recommend. I recommend you do them all at the same time before the race actually starts. Make the drivers decide what lane they want to be on, because then you just get into a groove. You just pound them all out, and then there's no heat of the battle in between heats dealing with this stuff. That's how I would do it. It's completely up to you. But watch this now. So I'm going to do something bad. Like I told you never to hit this button. Let's say you accidentally do. Look what just happened. It changed heat 1. I selected round robin. It changed heat 1 to be a 1, 2, 3, 4 driver thing. Heat 2 is driver 20. I don't know if you can see it. And then 1, 2, 3 because drivers 1, 2, and 3 shift down a lane. That's how round robins work. And all the heat structure is messed up. So if you look now, instead of like 7 heats, I think there are now 20, because that's how many heats for a 20 driver race there would be in a round robin format. This is completely bogus. It even undid what you did on your first heat. So all you have to do, don't hit accept, just hit close. It'll bring up a dialog that says you're going to lose your changes. In this case, you say yes. And now if you look, we're still back where we were before. Driver 20 is in the lane he had asked for. Driver 19 is in the lane he had asked for. We're good. We've recovered from a disaster. So let's go back to that again. So that's one way. That's one reason to do like one heat at a time and hit accept. Do a second heat, hit accept, because you could end up in a situation where you have to wipe out everything you've done and start all over again, simply because you hit one of these buttons down here at the bottom. So let's do heat 2 now, and again, the top seed is always in the lane 1, second top seed is in lane 2, and the third top seed, the third highest seed, is in lane 3. So you're going to want driver 16 to pick a lane, 17 to pick a lane, and 18 to pick a lane. And this is where it gets tricky, because you're going to have to remember, these are going to be names, so you're just going to have to remember that Mike, Tom, Dick, and Harry were, Tom was a high seed, Dick was second high seed, and Harry was a third seed, especially because, now going through our program again the same way we did it before, you pick driver 16 because that's Tom. That's who I'm calling Tom. He gets to choose first. Now let's say he decides he wants to be in the blue lane. So you select the blue lane even though driver 18 is currently there. You can see the selection is there and you say add. Well, now driver 16 has been removed from there. Driver 18 has been removed from here and driver 16 has been put where he wants. That's great, but now you have to remember that driver 18 was in that lane, or you're just going to have to remember that because he's basically not in this heat. So now driver 17 says, hey, you know what, I really want to be in the white lane. Oh, look, that's where I am, so you don't actually have to do anything for him. That's yay. But now driver 18, who was in this heat and who is the third highest seed in the heat, gets to pick his lane. He gets to pick last. So he's not in a heat, so he's going to, or in a lane, so he's going to have to pick one. So here it is, you select driver 18. Now let's say he picks the yellow lane, which is currently step up, which means that's where that's going to be where the driver from the previous heat goes, right? So he wants this lane, so you do the same thing. You simply hit add up at the top, and now you'll notice driver 18, I don't know if you can read that, but driver 18 is indeed in that lane. Now, you're done, except, here's a problem. The red lane, lane 1, is currently empty. That's not good. It needs to say, you need to have in every one of your heats one lane that says step up, or there will be nowhere for the drivers from the previous heat to move into, and they just won't race. So if you ran this exactly the way it is right now, if you hit accept and ran this, after the first heat was over, it doesn't matter between drivers 19 and 20 who wins, because there's nowhere for them to step up into heat 17, 16, 17, or into the second heat, and so 16, 17, and 18 would race with an empty lane. And it actually, I'm not even sure in a step-up race, I don't even know what would happen. It might treat all 5 of those drivers as if they'd race together and then step up the top one from there into the next one. I'm not sure. I think that's actually what it would do. So to fix this for you, to make this correct for what you want, you select the red lane. You can see maybe that there's a blue stripe there. And then you click this button up at the top here, this add step up. And what'll happen when you do that, I just did it, it now says step up here, and that's crucial. It doesn't say empty, it says step up. So there you go. You get everybody's all set. Now you say accept. And now you've got your second heat set up. Now, real quick, just to show you this running, then you do that for every single lane. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to run this real quick. I have sound turned off so you can't hear it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let basically 1 or 2 laps run by, and then I'm going to pause the race and skip it so you can see. This is how I debug things a lot, by the way. So there's driver 20 getting a lap, and in a second, driver 1 will get one. And I'll let driver 2 get a second lap, or one of them just get a second lap, so there's a clear winner. Okay, there it is. Okay, so right now, if this heat ended right now, which it's going to, driver 20 wins. So, because he's in the lead 2 laps to 1. So what I'm going to do is just do skip heat. And boom, there you go. Driver 20 is now in the red lane, which is what we marked as the step up. Drivers 16, 17, and 18 are where they had decided they wanted a race, and we're ready to run this heat. Now, if you leave things as it is right now, we didn't do the other 5 heats, so if you look in the heat view, heat list, the heat list is now updated to have the correct things here, but you'll notice that heat 3 is still in the order that it was in. You probably can't read it, but the step up is here, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, or 10, 11, 12, step up here in the yellow lane, so it just keeps going like that. So there you have it. Couple things to consider, that heat list that I just brought up only updates at when it opens, so you have to reopen it every time you make a change. If you have it already open, you have to close it and then reopen it. And that's it. That should be at least a start for you to get stuff working. Like I said, I'm going to work on maybe making a change to that highlight option, try to get you a build, because that's really, it's just unusable the way it is. You can really barely see that a lane is highlighted, and I think that's a source of a lot of problems with that stuff. It's doubly bad because that screen is for, like I said, for, you can actually create entire new heats with that screen, and that makes it doubly hard, because to do that you have to select, you can select a heat and remove the entire heat from the race and all sorts of stuff. So, but what I just did for you is exactly what you need to do in the finals, and it should be that. Hopefully it's a little clunky, but hopefully it's that simple. Like I said, hit escape or hit accept between heats every time you do one, so that it essentially saves that heat structure. So if you make a mistake on the one you're working on, you can just abort it, and when you come back out, you'll have it back the way it was before, and you'll be fine. Actually, there's an undo button on that thing. After you've hit accept, it saves the heat structure, and if you make changes after that, you go back in and make changes. If you hit undo, it will go back to what it was since the last time you hit accept. So you don't even have to leave the screen. You can just hit undo. That'll put the heat back the way it was, the heats and everything back the way it was before you mucked with them, and you can start over from wherever you had previously hit accept. So, you got a lot to do on that screen, so do it slowly and do it, piece by piece, and do it with an accept, in between, and that'll save things out. So, all right, that's it. I'm gonna get this over to you, and let me know how it goes. Talk to you later. Bye.